Okay, so I went to the Frankfurt Cathedral, and the cathedral is at least 322 steps high in the tower. So I was going through the tower, and as I was traveling through the tower, I noticed that when I got to the top of the tower, guys, I noticed that there was inside the tower carvings on the wall. And it made me realize just how old the building was. But more than that, when I was inside the tower, I was noticing that the way the tower was arranged was not arranged for practical purposes for a human being, but more so, it had to do with, I believe, more of an occult kind of mysterious kind of a way of creating a way of reaching into the occult. Like, how can I explain it? The occult world. Let me give you an example of that here. Let me just show you what I'm talking about here. And again, I know it's late. I just want to I'm sitting here, I'm looking at this, and I'm going back over my climb. And when I was going up in the Frankfurt Cathedral, it was more like being inside of a cave. And it's very
It's
exhausting.
more wind as soon as you hit this corner, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as soon as you hit this corner.
I got it. I'm here.
Yeah. I really feel good though. Yeah, buddy.
This is it.
I guess this is the first level of the
This,
observation, but these
this is all or the first level.
this first level, so we got.
Can we take a lunch break? Let's take a lunch break. Okay, I'm nearly to the top of the Frankfurt Cathedral. And here, right here, you can look out the window and see everything there. See the entire city. I think I hear them calling for me at the top. But we're still trying to do it. Got a lot of steps. Okay, so though you know what this is the tower of the Frankfurt Cathedral, and it's 322 steps inside the tower. Now, when you go to the top of the tower, it's an observation place, but more than that, it seems to be a place where they would do some sort of rituals there. And apparently, it doesn't serve any purpose at all. I can't really see what the tower would be for, not just for entertainment. And again, getting back to whether it's for human beings to walk up there. Of course, there are going to be human beings to walk up there, but then there is also this idea of trying to get as far away from people as possible, and then maybe possibly even to hold a occult ritual up there. Of course, I can't came up. Yeah, a few more steps to go. So let's see if we can make it. All right, I'm nearly at the top here. We made it. We made it. We made it. We made it. Okay, I want you to look at the wall here. Someone was up there, and mostly when people get up there, they carve into the wall. And when you get up to the top of the Frankfurt Cathedral, you're going to see a lot of people carving into the wall, I suppose, you know. But then you're also going to see a lot of images that don't set right. You know, the Gothic kind of images. There's one of a man holding and clutching onto a bag, and then there's other grotesque faces that are up there, and then of course you're gonna have your gargoyles around the building. Now, basically, what I'm doing is I'm just doing
Whatever it is.
just a tour to get
All
up
right.
to the top of it. And it did take, again, of all the wind out of you. We had about 10 people that started out with us, and only a few of us made it up there, which was my son and two other people. And then, of course, me being the oldest of everyone, I was able to make it. Thank God I was. But again, you're going to see all of these Gothic images on
Here we go.
the outside of the building. And I wish I could show you one of the Gothic images outside the building. But again, you're on the observation tower. Now, do you think that this would possibly be something that they would use to just entertain people, or is there something more to this? And the reason I'm asking is because, you know, this is one of the buildings that has supposedly been bombed, and this was bombed repeatedly over and over and over again. And the only other building that I know that was bombed more than that was the Cologne Cathedral. Now, the Cologne Cathedral has um, a spire step uh, that reaches all the way up as well. So this is not uncommon that they have these spire steps where you go around and around and around and around and around in this dark like cave to get all the way to the top of the spire step cathedral. And once you get to the top, of course, you can there is a lookout there. But with the Spire Step Cathedral, there's 533 steps on the Cologne Cathedral. And while the Cologne Cathedral is not the largest cathedral, let me just see if I can go back and give you a picture of what I'm talking about. The Cologne Cathedral is not the largest cathedral in the world, but it is the largest two spire cathedral, right? And so this one here has a spire step inside of it too, which is reaching up to 500, and it's over 500 steps as well. So you're going to get just about, I believe, in about 500 feet tall, and then you have that. You have the Frankfurt. Now, both of them are in Germany, and both of them are on the Gothic style. Now, here's the thing that you need to be aware of, and that's what I'm, kind of like talking about here with this whole thing, is that this here was bombed at least 14 times, and it endured 14 times being bombed. And supposedly they started to build this thing in 1200 AD and didn't finish it to 1800. Just over 632 years or something it took to complete this building. Is that unbelievable? Yeah, it's definitely unbelievable. So why would the Germans, of all things, bomb something like this? Unless they were trying to cover up something. It just doesn't make any sense that they would destroy such a site. Let me see if I can get to it. I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing it with you guys. Let me go back and share it with you. And let me go. Sorry, guys. I thought it was being shared. Let's share this screen here. And the window is here. Let's see if I can get over here. Okay, Hopefully you guys are able to see it. Cathedral, Cologne Cathedral. Let's see here. We're going to share it. Well, all right. Well, here's one image of it as well here. So let's go over this and we can see it here if it is allowing me to show it right here on this page here. So all right, here we are here. Now this cathedral, like I said, this is the Cologne Cathedral, and the Cologne Cathedral was started in 1200 AD. Okay, and it took 630. If you want to believe it, it supposedly it took 630 years to complete. Yeah, it's just kind of unbelievable. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of use this video here. Maybe I can kind of like skip ahead and not play the video because I'm sure this video is under copyright. But again, like I'm saying, with this cathedral here, the Germans were bombing it. They bombed this cathedral something like I told you, 14 times. 14 times they bombed this cathedral, and they couldn't get this thing to come down. Unbelievable. And here's the thing: it took 632 years, and this is 135 miles from the Frankfurt Cathedral, Gothic Cathedral. And it's, again, like the largest spire cathedral in the world. How could people in the 1200s build something like this? And that's the big question, you know. Some of the scales of the doors and the things that we're seeing, the arches, don't even seem to fit practical purposes for humanity, for human beings. But of course, you know, you also have the images of human beings on the front of it, and then you also have your Gothic images as well. But the dome and the spires and all of the things that we see here, supposedly this was built for the wise men. And this is what they're saying. They built this for the wise men. Like, you know, the Frankfurt Cathedral is an attempt at it, but this one here was supposedly built for the wise men so that the bones of the wise men could be kept in the cathedral. And it's the only cathedral in which the bishop resides in this cathedral. Again, now when I was going through Frankfurt, you know, that was the only one I could see, but this one here is not in Frankfurt. Like I said, it's 135 miles, you know, in another direction. So it would have taken us too long to get there. But there you examples of your stained glass windows, your Christ, and you know, the story of Christ and the crucifixion and Mary and the entire thing. The only thing you won't see is Christ raised in victory and power. Because, I mean, we don't, you know, basically when I was going around, everything that I was filming, you know, when I was in Frankfurt, in the cathedrals, that, you know, most of it was what was the dead Christ on the cross, you know, Jesus on the cross, not Jesus raised in victory and power. But of course, that's the way it is. Now let's go over. I want to show you an example here too, and I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna get off. Well, I'm not gonna be on long, but I want to show you an example here of uh yeah. I doubt if the whole world is taking teaching 777. I can't really say that. But here's the thing. They were attempting to destroy all of the all of the main treasures of the past. It's kind of like all of the old Tartarian technology and things like that. Would you believe that there was some mud flood or something like that? There's always been a fire, right? But in the case with World War II, there was a lot of bombing that was going on. A lot of bombing, unbelievable bombing. Here's an example here. This is what I mean, and hold it now. Like I said, with that Cologne Cathedral, they bombed that thing 14 times and still couldn't get it to come down. What kind of technology were the people in the 1200s using that a building on 9/11 that gets hit one time with a paper airplane? Just gets hit one time with an airplane and two twin towers just come down, supposedly, according to the official story. And then you hit this Cologne Cathedral and the Frankfurt Cathedral multiple times, and this thing is still standing. And after the devastation, supposedly in 1944, this was a total destruction of what was left in 1944. Let me see if I could just play a few seconds of this here. This is what was left.
Simply the result of night and day bombing.
Yeah, night and day bombing. So there was I mean, constantly bombing, and they were bombing an old Gothic world. This is what they were bombing. They were bombing and wiping out an old Gothic world to replace, this was in Frankfurt, to replace it with new buildings, renewed. I mean, just wiping out relics of the past. And like I said, what they were aiming at, like I said, that let me see here. They were aiming at the cathedrals, these massive structures. And well, I guess it's a really good thing that they didn't complete things. There's nothing like this. There's nothing like this. There's nothing like this. So, I mean, what were they trying to get rid of? And why were they doing it? It again, like I said, this one here, this cathedral, along with the Frankfurt Cathedral, are massive. That Frankfurt Cathedral, when I was inside that spire going up those steps, I just couldn't imagine people just using that practically for anything. Why would they be climbing all the way up to the tower of a tower? And I had to pay €3 to actually climb it. And when I got inside, I thought, oh, I'll run up these steps, 322 steps or something like that. It won't be anything for me, man. But I fooled myself because it was really hard to climb those steps. And I'll tell you this, but I don't see any purpose in climbing them I mean, it's a tourist attraction. It was a tourist attraction that once was used for something else. This one here, the Cologne Cathedral, also in Germany, which is 135 miles, away. This one was bombed 14 times, and you climb their steps, and their steps were 520, I think 22 of them. It was much larger. The largest double spire cathedral in the world. Not the largest cathedral in the world, and not the largest Gothic cathedral in the world, but the largest double spire cathedral. But here's the thing: all of these cathedrals and all of these castles and all of these ancient places were at least hit by some sort of bomb or fire. And because they have this ability to last, they were very difficult to destroy. They're very difficult to destroy. And look at the artwork, how intricate they are. And then hold it. People in the 1200s were building things like this. This is what the official narrative is, with arch framework and intricate labyrinths that, unbelievable. And like we were traveling through Paris too, and I want to show you that there were these huge golden dome, golden dome structures in Paris that I understand that the golden dome, the dome onion structure is also in Russia, right? And so this is something that was also part of the ancient world, because people don't build buildings with onion tops. But these onion top buildings also, oddly enough, in Paris had crosses on top of them to indicate that they were the Orthodox Church, right? The Orthodox Church has all of these images as well. But again, these were under attack during World War II. And these buildings were supposed to come down. I guess they did a lousy job of it, guys, because there's a lot that they need to explain, And like I said, I was floored by the elegance and beauty when you get right up on close to these buildings. It's jaw dropping, unbelievable. But what can we say? Okay, let's see. There was one other thing I wanted to show you guys, and then we're gonna get out of here. Yeah. So I guess the big question is: are they really trying to hide something, or am I? Are we just pulling the straws? Because I mean, the official narrative is, like I said, with that one building at Cologne. I mean, these people took 600 years to build a building, and this architecture remained consistent in its scale, in its scale and its design. And so I'm to believe that it took 600 years, and they went from the 1200 AD until the 1800 AD, and was able to finally finish the building in the same scale and design, as if the same architect were working on the building. I just don't get it. I don't get what. No. Yeah, I don't get it. Let me see if we can switch over. Let's see if I can stop sharing this screen and go to the next screen here. Replace this screen with, let's see if we can replace screen here. Okay, we're still on that screen. Let's see. Okay, well, let's try to stop sharing and then reshare. There you go. So anyway, so I pulled up a website just to kind of look at some of these things here. So somebody kind of like brings it out that, you know, it's a possibility that this was ancient architecture. Chicago post office. These buildings are not even practical. They're not even practical for the purposes of what a post office looks like. You know, you go in the post office, it's a little flat building where you go in, you mail your letters, and you come out. This does not look like a little flat building where you go in and mail your letter and then come back out. It's almost like it's overly done for the kind of purposes that it's going to be used for. You know, it's very strange. Some of the designs that they had with the there's that onion like let me see if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Yeah, good. There's that onion spire, onion like top. And some of these onion spires have crosses on top of them, and the Orthodox churches having them in there. Yeah. Well, I tell you this, you never know what the history is. Uh, you really don't know what the history is. You know, free energy, all of that has been part of our history. We know of some of it, but we don't know of all of it. That there's a possibility that some of these buildings have been repurposed to cover up alternative timelines. It still doesn't mean, you know, it's we live in a world of lies. I don't think that it really takes anything away from the gospel of Jesus Christ. I don't think that at all. I just kind of think, however, some of these things that we're looking at do not make sense in terms of like the practicality, you know, the practical use of them. Unless there's, you know, mostly we build buildings for purposes that have a practical purpose. And the design and the ornateness of these buildings lead us to believe that, okay, either they were trying to entertain people or maybe there was a more practical purpose than even that they actually were trying to use them for energy charging stations and what have you. You know, it's almost like the world is we were born into a world where the plug has been pulled, and you walk around and you see these things, and you say, "Well, what are these things for?" And everyone just says to you, "Oh, don't worry about it. Just enjoy it as a toy. You know, it's a toy. You know, the Eiffel Tower is a toy. It couldn't be any place where there was any electricity flowing through it, or free energy was being generated by it, or anything like that. although we have people like Nikola Tesla and people who kind of oddly show up in our history that reveal things to us just enough to kind of like get us to scratching our head. Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, it's very, very like odd. Yeah. Well, again, the ether and let me see, Super Dave, you talking about the ether? Yeah, well, I mean, the, there's definitely something that we can draw from above us, and I've heard that before. Energy. It's obviously there are energies in the sky. We did a years ago. We did a video on the spires in the sky. The sprites that were in the sky, and the sprites hitting against the firmament and drawing power every time. There's static electricity released in the air, and how that energy could be even harvested. Yeah, Sally, imagine having free energy. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, it's a possibility, like I said, with the airships and that kind of thing, that they change the way we even travel. Again, it flying, flying in the tubes that we fly in um with the kind of technology that we have is so restrictive because we have to depend upon the airlines to carry us everywhere. Whereas before, when you had these dirigibles, they were, you could pretty much travel a lot of people, a lot more people in these dirigibles that would float across the sky, and possibly even the energy that they used was more conservative than the kind of devices that we travel in today. But all of that is by design so that we would be bottlenecked into having to pay these huge sums of money in order to travel, you know. So yeah, um, it's a possibility that the world was much more freer, and the resources that we have they were more honest about the resources and our ability to even use them. You know, um, More affordable, a much more kinder world. Free energy, um, food available just by farming. And then here comes the overlords of society, which is the Rockefellers and the all of these people who created this world that we live in now, where they're like bottlenecking and strangling people for the last dime that they have just for breathable air and drinkable water. You know, yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, well, I tell you this. We'll look at this a little bit more a little bit later. Like I said, just wanted to share with you my travels and what I was seeing when it came down to traveling and going you know to Frankfurt. Wonderful, wonderful to see the world. There are people all over the world. Just it was very exciting. We went to Switzerland and we saw a lot of artwork there, and then also in Amsterdam, and so quite a bit. Really sure here what's going on there. So anyway, remember that again, history belongs to the people who actually do the conquering. They make up their history, and then they put it in our textbooks and share it with us the way they want it to be known, again. So all of the things that we've been told in our history books, all of the images that they show us, we really don't know unless we were there. And then we don't even understand why they were doing what they were doing, because even that, they're what they've told us about the bombings and that kind of thing, and the reason they bombed the buildings and what have you, all of that could be even made up too. Yeah. Either way, we just pray, and let's pray for God to give us wisdom and insight, and keep our minds open. I'll talk to you guys later. Hey, share the video. Leave a like if you did like it, just to kind of talk. All we're doing is just speculating. And so I'll talk to you guys later. God bless.